Tell me one story, something about, the thought process that you had to articulate it to make some of those pieces.
Yeah. Well, I'm always looking at this collection and seeing where are the gaps. They have some things from Nigeria, and maybe they don't have something from some other place. Or maybe there's some example that I think is very rare. So every time I come, I bring some pieces to donate to the museum. But if you want a good story, a good Afro-Atlantic story, sometime around 1999, 2000, just before the Museo Afro Brasil became a reality, Emmanuel and I made an exchange. It involved a few pieces of African art, but I received from him a mask, a fragment of a mask, which he had obtained from, I forgot who it is, the person who wrote Capoeira d'Angola, I think it was him. And he had gotten that mask, I think, from Bibiano dos Santos, my Senora Bibiana dos Santos, the mother of Mestre Didi, whose work is on exhibit here.
Sure.
And the mother, Bibiana dos Santos, who is in a very famous photograph by Pierre Verger, who is exhibited in photography in this museum. All three of them are represented in one of the greatest pieces of literature, in my opinion, from the 20th century, which is A Casa d'Aqua by Antonio Olinto. And if you are a Brasileiro and you don't know who Antonio Olinto is, shame on you. Get thirsty, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay, get thirsty. Antonio Olinto is the former president of the Brazilian Academy of Arts and Letters. He was Brazil's first envoy, a cultural envoy to Nigeria when Nigeria first gained its influence, its independence. Casa d'Aqua, in a nutshell, quickly, is about freed slaves in the 1890s who leave, how do you say it, Piauí? In northern Brazil. Piauí. And they go to Nigeria. And one of them figures out how to bring water from some place where there is a lot of it to where there is none of it. And she becomes very, very rich. And her son later becomes the first president of Togo. Now, all this is mentioned in the Casa d'Aqua. The generations that came from slavery to Nigeria, who then go to England and get academic degrees. Mestre Didi is mentioned as a choir boy in the church in the Casa d'Aqua. My Senora Bibiano dos Santos is mentioned, and the sculptor Ogundipe, who is a Nago sculptor, who carved a mask that I got from Emmanuel, is mentioned in the Casa d'Aqua. In exchange for the mask, I gave Emmanuel a house post, a carved house post, which is on exhibit here, from the Yoruba, okay? This is sacred ground here, this museum, okay? Terra Sagrada for me. You look at those paintings are my Brazilian heart. One of those paintings shows the torso of Brazil with Rubem Valentim's Yoruba axes of Shango planted like we have in English like signposts that point the way along a path. And then in the back, I stole something from Frans Post, the great Dutch painter who painted many Brazilian scenes. You'll see a scene from Franz Post in my painting there. And then in the other painting, I asked the question, where is Africa? Where is Brazil? Okay? Museu Afro-Brasil.
Eu acho que
Sagrado.
você é brasileiro, né? You know, give us on your own experience how it is, this history, obviously, that is similar between U.S. and Brazil. Slaves and the process of dealing with that, and how Americans have dealt with that, and Brazilians.
Same language, two different dialects of the same language, okay? It's like that. For a long time, Brazilians like to say, oh, you know, we're not prejudiced here. It's just that it's economic. They're just poor people. Well, why is it that they're poor? All right? If they built this country for 3 centuries, how could they be poor? All right? They could only be poor by the force of discrimination and by the tremendous importation of white people from Europe coming into this country. Because in the Santo Domingo and in Brazil, they didn't want to have a black republic, okay? So everything whitened, and all those advances that many of the blacks had made out of slavery were suppressed with discrimination, okay? Now, some people complain about, what is it, affirmative action? Is that what?
A lei ação afirmativa, a lei de ação afirmativa.
Okay, let me ask you a question. For how many years did you have affirmative action for white people? All right? You're right. Now you're complaining about affirmative action. I thought you liked affirmative action. Huh? What's the matter? You mean you don't like affirmative action? That's a joke. You see, you know, the Brazilian looks at the American. And, you know, Brazilians, they're not ugly like the way Americans can get. You know, Brazilians don't think that black people are disgusting. You know, they don't think that you should go around and hang black people from the tree or drag them behind a truck like these things that have happened in the United States. So that's the Brazilian idea of what is discrimination. We're not talking about that. We're talking about jobs. When I first came to this country in 1987, I turned on the television set and I said, wow, there's no black people in Brazil. There's no Afro-descendants in Brazil. I said, this is amazing. They told me that this was one of the biggest Afro-descendant countries. I said, I better turn off the television set, you know, and check out what's going on. Television, that's a job. The face you see on the television screen is a job. The person is getting paid to do that. They're putting bread on the table. And if the black guy is not there, that's why he's poor. And that's why you're saying that, oh, we don't discriminate. They're just poor people?
Correto.
Okay? Hey, take the air out of your head.
E daí que nasce a pintura clube privado. Dessa ideia dessa violência silenciosa, the silent violence, which I call as a Brazilian that exists here.
Yeah, and the discrimination against women and against the Indian, you know? Oh, women shouldn't do this, women shouldn't do that. Look, we live in a mechanical age, okay? A woman does not need man's strength. Okay, she can sit in the truck with a hydraulic transmission and drive the car, right? So you see, all of this is you know, just fluff. It's not fair. Okay, in the boxing ring, you get in the ring and everybody's watching you. Okay, you can't cheat, right? But like your painting, clube privado, okay? This country is one big clube privado. How in the world, How in the world can one person steal $60 million? Okay? All right? How is that possible? When I see all these people standing for 10, 20 minutes waiting for a bus, do you have no shame? I mean, come on, you know? You're trying to like beat the United States in being the most prejudiced country in the world? No, okay? This country, everything is here. Everything is here. Minerals, gold. You don't need to import food. You don't need to use oil to bring food in this country. Okay? Everything is right here. It's a sin. It is a sin. And I'm not talking about going to your priest and getting in some box and say, Father, I've sinned. I'm talking about in the grand scheme of this universe. It's a sin to behave in this fashion. Okay? Let's all do a good thing. It's just the same language, a different dialect, a different accent.
Muito obrigado.
I wrote this poem. George Foreman swung, but Ali was not there. He had to ask, why? Is there only air here in Zaire? They fought not for the money, but for the love of Liberia. The bravos from Brazil, nameless Nigerians.